whatever money you think you need to grow your business, you probably should increase that number exponentially because we all have far more confidence of what's going to happen in the future. But one thing is if you have to go out and raise capital early on in your business and you underestimate the amounts that you need to bring in, it's going to cost you far more in the future by not bringing that in. There's countless great products that really never got off the ground because they weren't properly capitalized.
Hi, welcome back to Recipe to Revenue. I'm your host, Leah Messina, and I am here today with the CEO and founder, Joe Oblas of Benefit Brands and ProSupps. Joe, thank you for joining me today. There's so much I want to ask you about your journey and how you have grown this incredible business over the last 25 years, is it?
Thanks for having me. ProSupps, we're going on our 15th year for this company.
Excellent. So let's start by giving us sort of the breakdown between Benefit Brands and ProSupps, because I know you have a number of brands underneath them. So give us the kind of the lay of the land.
Yes, we use Benefit Brands because our parent company is more of a generic name. So Benefit Brands gives us the flexibility to have other brands that may not look the same or feel the same or being in the same channels. So Benefit's a good parent name for us because we want everything to benefit the consumer. Yeah. So it works out really well for us. But our primary focus, we have ProSupps, and we have a brand new brand that we'll be launching very, very soon called Groove. Okay. And Groove is much more of a lifestyle brand. So they both fit under Benefit. But we've kind of really narrowed our focus over the past 6 months to really be dialed in on both ProSupps and then Groove here in the near term.
Fantastic. Well, more growth on the horizon. Yes. And walk through some of the brands that you have underneath there. Hyde, My Bar, Quavos. Tell us a little bit about them.
We have product franchises underneath ProSupps, and the Hyde pre-workout is one of the top pre-workouts in the entire world. We launched it in 2012, and it's been a great product. It still is a great product to this day, and we continue to evolve it as, there's entry-level Hyde, we have mid-level products, and we have much, much stronger ones for advanced users. So it's been a great franchise for us. It's virtually sold in, I think it's about 95 countries now. So very well known. And anytime I walk through an airport with a Jekyll and Hyde shirt on, people are always asking me about it. So it's great to see. And we have a brand new product launching here in about a week in a different category called Ionic. Mm-hmm. And that's a hydration product. And we recently partnered up with the chocolate brand Ghirardelli, and we've launched proteins using their chocolate.
I love that. Yeah, we're going to talk more about that because I want you to share some of that story and background of how that happened.
Sure.
So let's take it back to the early days. So you started this company when you were 19 years old?
I started my first company when we were 19. We started this one in 2012.
Okay. So walk us through the early days of how you got into this business and when you first started seeing some momentum.
Well, in our first company when I was 19, we were all athletes that loved, fitness and nutrition and so forth. So it's always been very, very close to our hearts. We started a company called Juice Stop back in 1992 and grew it very large, very fast, and brought in private equity, I believe, in 1998. And then, so we kind of sold the company at that point in time, and then we just continued down the road. But most notably, and probably the biggest success, is that we launched ProSupps in 2012. Mm-hmm. And it took off like wildfire right away. And we actually sold the company in 2016.
Into private equity group at that time again.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us about that. So first, what was, when you sold the business, was it just the offer was too good to pass up, or were you ready to explore different options at that time?
Well, when we started ProSupps, it was generally when we start a company, we create a plan that is, we kind of talk about the eventual exit when we're starting. Mm-hmm. and what our goals are and what we want to accomplish. And it helps us stay grounded to what makes sense in the process of growing a company.
Yeah.
I see a lot of entrepreneurs these days that they got the plan to start, but they don't have a plan of where they want to go from an exit standpoint. They just want to get big and have somebody come buy them.
Yeah.
But with ProSupps, we kind of set a number that we wanted. We set a date and time where we felt we would have a chance to get to that number. And literally, we sold the company in that exact month that we predicted back when we started the company initially in 2012. We said by August of 2016, we want to sell the company. We want to be at a minimum size. And we accomplished it. In hindsight, probably might have been a little bit too premature to sell the company because we were had significant trajectory. And anytime you go through a sale process, a lot of your focus is going to go more to completing the process than it is continuing to grow your brand.
Sure. What did you do to prepare for that sale the first time to the private equity group?
Well, one of the first things, we hired an investment banker to run a process for us. So we had meetings, had to select which banker we were going to work with. That was, we had 3 bankers. We whittled it down to choosing one. The firm out of Arkansas called Stevens is who represented us. And then start a process of creating, marketing materials for what we're looking to do. And they send them out to, the targeted buyer or the targeted potential buyers that may want to buy your company. And then as interest is generated, then they make offers and you select a handful of those offers that you're willing to have presentations with. And we went through that process. I got sick and tired of having steak dinners every night for like 10 days straight.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, top steakhouse in Dallas. I haven't ordered a steak there in over 10 years just because I got burned out on having steak. But we went through that process. We do our management presentations, solicit the offers. And once you select the offer you're going to go with, then it's a process moving towards closing. And it generally takes a few months of providing the information and diligence that the buyer wants to see. And then you move and close the deal. And we closed the deal back in August of 2016.
How long did they have you stay on after the deal closed?
Well, it's always the intention, and private equity, especially when they're the acquirer, tells you, hey, we're aligned with management. We don't want to upset what you guys have going, but inevitably it happens. And, you might have desires of what you want to do. You might want to go out and do something different. You got, life-changing money. So now you can afford, to do things that you want to do versus things that you have to do. And so I actually wanted to start a company with a founder of a competing nutrition company. And we did that so I stayed about 6 months after the sale. And then I left in early 2017. And we had made a large investment back into the business with the private equity firm. And my business partners, we felt good about him staying, giving me the opportunity to go do something that I wanted to do differently. And we did that. So it's just an interesting process because when a private equity firm tells you what their intentions are, generally they end up being a little bit different. And look, I'm not saying it's all that they've done. It's just that doing diligence or going through the process when everyone is like in this honeymoon phase, get out of the fun honeymoon phase. There's things that, they might want to be different. And there's frankly things that management wants to be different. And it changes the overall dynamic. You're no longer the owner of the business. You now are technically a shareholder and also an employee of the business, which private equity does like to put their stamp on things.
Sure. So was that when you were starting to come up with the idea for the new business at that point, like laying the groundwork for it and then made your exit?
Oh, I went an entirely different industry. So I was more on the healthy snacking side for about 6 years, and then just kind of watched our, ProSupps from afar. And, there were certain things I liked that they were doing and certain things I thought were probably not the right thing. And, then we had COVID and all that nightmare, but it provided me an opportunity to try to buy the business back from private equity. And I tried that in 2022 and ended up not being successful and getting to a deal just to straight acquire the company. But actually, I was fortunate enough that in January of 2023, they reached out, asked me if I would come back in and run the company.
Okay.
So that's what I ended up doing, and ran the company under them for almost a year, and then was able to acquire the majority of their equity back from them at the end of that year.
Yeah, you don't hear that path too often.
You don't hear it often being done successfully, but I do think there's a very large percentage of entrepreneurs that once they sell the company to private equity, tend to try to, if it's not a huge success right out the gate, which this was not,
Yeah.
They want their business back.
Yeah, I mean, after you spend so many years growing it, and you knew what the vision was for it, and that went in a different direction. What were some of the first things that when you came back in that you focused on?
Well, when we built the company from the very beginning, everything that carried one of our logos was a best-in-class product. Okay, so we always wanted to make sure that we might not have been the best marketers, but we at least knew that we had a product that was best in class. And when I came back, there were quite a few products that, in my opinion, weren't still best in class. So we very quickly undertook a plan to improve areas where maybe corners had been cut, and then really tried to align on marketing. Now, the thing is that the industry continues to evolve and evolve rapidly. So what is successful now might not have been successful 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. And it's been just a total shift. And for us, we really wanted to focus on what made us successful in the first place, continue to be one of the strongest pre-workout brands in the world, but then identify categories where we could go be successful under that same premise from the beginning. Produce products that haven't been produced before, or give the company or give consumers a real reason to want to jump in on a certain product category from a company that's is not, really known for that particular category.
Yeah. So, in the growth of the business, where have you, from when you came back in and you started to write things again? I know that you have great distribution through club stores. So was that something new that once you came back in that you really pushed further, or were they already down that path?
Yeah, the company had never worked with Costco before, so Costco was one of the initiatives that we wanted to accomplish, and we did. And that was for the pre-workout. But we really wanted to build a relationship with Costco that was more than just purely transactional. And what I say is, you put a product in there, that's great, try a product and so forth. But we wanted to make sure that we had multiple products going into Costco, and we were building a long-term relationship with them, which I feel I'm never going to say we've completely accomplished it, but we have continued to evolve with them. And we're about to put our third product into Costco here in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah. Is that the Ionic product?
That's actually the protein that we partnered with Ghirardelli on.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about that now. So how did that come about?
Crazy story is, I was at a meeting with Walmart back in about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago now. And I was out there, and we were just sitting around after the meeting, myself and one of our brokers that helps us with being, our eyes and ears on the ground in Bentonville, Arkansas. And we were just having a conversation, and he was raving about all the collaborations in the industry and how they really enabled a lot of the growth brands to gain market share over your legacy brands in those spaces, protein being probably one of the most impactful. And he's talking about all this stuff. And I told him, I said, I actually had I came up with a concept back in 2014 to collaborate with Ghirardelli. And I'd been talking to some of their business development people. And I felt there was a good chance we could get a deal done with them at the time. I took it to the rest of my team. And at that time, my team felt that having a legacy candy brand on a nutrition product didn't make sense. So the whole deal died right then and there in 2014 before there were any collaborations in the space. And the broker looks at me and says, well, Joe, you do know I went to MBA school with the CEO of Ghirardelli, and we're good friends. So let me make an introduction for you. I'm like, the odds of that are just staggering.
Yeah.
And
right place at the right time.
Yeah, he made the introduction, and we started the process a couple months later and really developed in my opinion, the best tasting chocolate protein that's ever been produced.
And it's a powder, chocolate powder?
Currently, the first launch is a powdered protein.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have intention, though, in the next probably 6 months, we will be launching ready to drink proteins as well.
Yeah, fantastic. So obviously a brand that large with such a global presence has quite high standards.
Yes.
So how did you, and so do you, so, you're aligned in those ways. So how did you kind of come together to make a product that made everybody happy?
Well, I was born and raised in Southern California,
Mm-hmm.
and Ghirardelli is such a staple in California. And as a kid, you get to go up to San Francisco
Yeah,
to see the Golden Gate Bridge and Alcatraz, but there's not a trip to San Francisco it's just not complete without visiting Ghirardelli Square.
sure.
And so I've always had an affinity and a love for that brand. And to me, when you see their logo on anything, it's going to taste great and it's, super premium to that category. And in the protein space for so long, it's just been, to me, underwhelming where, a product might be, we consider a product good, but it's good, meaning that you can get it down without, having a total objectionable taste. Whereas when we started working with Ghirardelli, they were very adamant that the product had to be very chocolate forward, but it couldn't have any taste of sweetener.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted a chocolate finish, which in my opinion, I had never tried a protein that you didn't have a takeaway of the sweetener taste, but I've never seen one that was chocolate. The takeaway was like you just had a wonderful piece of chocolate.
Yeah, that
You
just
get
melts
that
in your
taste
mouth.
of chocolate the next 5 or 10 minutes after you consume it.
Yeah,
really hadn't been done. So I give them a ton of credit for kind of holding our feet to the fire to accomplish all that. And it took a long time. We spent a year building that product and went through over 30 versions.
Wow.
To get it right. And, the takeaway is that when we started going out and seeing buyers, every single buyer that tried the product literally said, this is the best tasting protein we've ever tried. And when can we have it? Yeah. So that's kind of really what happened.
Yeah, exciting. So in a deal like that where you're coming together with them, what does it look like financially for support for both product development and marketing of it now that you're getting to that stage?
Well, it's generally all on us. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we make our product with their cocoa. And frankly, that is in my opinion, one of the biggest positives that we have is that we use a super premium product that tastes amazing. It's kind of scarce because they only work with sustainable farmers in the Ivory Coast for the Ghirardelli cocoa that we use. Mm-hmm. And they only buy from sustainable farms. And of those farms, or the beans produced by those farms, only 7% can actually meet their quality standards. So it really gives you a good understanding of why their chocolate just tastes better than everyone else's. Mm-hmm. And that's good reason. And they're very proud. It's a 175-year-old brand. And it's iconic to me. And frankly, seeing the consumer response since we just launched it just over 6 weeks ago, mm-hmm. It's been amazing.
Yeah. And what type of marketing support do you guys do when you're launching a new product?
Depends on the product and depends on the category. Now, in this category, because protein is well known, you don't have to provide a tremendous amount of education as to what the product is. In the pre-workout space, you do, because the vast majority of this population here in the U.S. doesn't know what a pre-workout is or why they benefit from one. And of course, if you go online, you're going to see hundreds and hundreds of stories about how great they are and the fact that you don't need them and so on. And it's really consumer preference. Now, I'm an early morning workout person. Mm-hmm. I don't drink coffee. So for me, it is my caffeine in the morning. It gets me going through my workout, and I really enjoy the product. Okay. But that's just my opinion. People find all kinds of uses for pre-workouts. Alternatives to energy drinks. It's significantly less expensive and provides, more beneficial ingredients than what an energy drink does. For, people that might want to work out at night or early. I mean, there's all kinds of day parts, and there is a pre-workout basically for everyone. So, but in the protein space, it's here, try our protein. We use Ghirardelli's chocolate in the protein. Mm-hmm. And consumers love that taste. And when you give them the ability to try it, they convert at a very high level. We don't, nor have we put a tremendous amount of marketing behind it so far, because really we're in the stage right now where we're trying to see what that product does organically.
Sure.
We can throw the kitchen sink of marketing at it. But the thing is that we really won't know truly how strong it is. And so we're very slowly adding little bits of marketing to it as we go.
Yeah, very controlled. So is it going to be a US launch to start and then you'll expand it global?
Well, we launched it into Sam's Club about 6 weeks ago, and it's been performing very, very well there. It launches into Costco here next month. So we're very excited for that. Yeah. I will probably go venture out and sit on a demo table myself just to really get that consumer response in person, because there's nothing more valuable than hearing it directly from the horse's mouth. So I will probably go do that. I'm actually going to, I think, attend a store opening for Costco here in a few weeks in advance of the launch, where I'll be doing a product demo for the product at that store on their grand opening.
Yeah, that's great that you still are out there doing, the demos at the store openings, and
I'm
that
a
you
glutton
get that.
for punishment, but I enjoy it. I'm actually doing a product demo tomorrow. So I'll go out and I'll be in a Sam's Club for 5 hours tomorrow, handing out samples and talking to consumers.
Yeah. When you do that, do you ever get new ideas for products?
Absolutely. And that's, by the way, where our brand new product Ionic came from. Is really, I sat on a demo table up in the Pacific Northwest last July for a month. I probably sampled 10,000 consumers. But I also, during those demos, because we were in the middle of the category where you'd see the hydration products and the protein products and our pre-workout product. So not only did I get great feedback regarding the pre-workout, I also got to see how people, resonated to the hydration category. And I got to hear a lot of the pushbacks that potential, consumers would have regarding the pre-workout. They didn't want anything with artificial sweeteners. Okay. The industry is starting to move towards naturally sweetened products, but consumers still want taste first. Right. So for us, it's, the naturals that are out there, and though growing, they bring an incremental customer in. They still significantly underperform the products that actually are artificially sweet. But it is a hot button at Costco.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing. We wanted to develop an all natural product. We wanted to also have a product that didn't have caffeine. Okay. Caffeine gives you certain limitations when you can take it during the day. Do you already drink coffee? Are you taking too much caffeine that you drink coffee? Then you want another product that's caffeinated. Or are you drinking 4 energy drinks? There's all kinds of variables. Right. But for us, when we started that product, it was all natural and no caffeine. But then how do you open into a big category like hydration? You can't just you're not going to outmarket the established leaders. You have to innovate and provide, you have to fill the holes that the existing leaders don't fill, and give consumers a reason why they want to come in and try your product. So that's what we did. And Ionic is a all natural effervescent loaded with B vitamins, got a full dosage of hydration, but we do hydration a little differently. It's a broader hydration. It's not just salt. Okay, so you have potassium and magnesium and things in there that are beneficial for hydration. The product, it has prebiotics in there as well, because we use a fermented rice to sweeten them. And it's a very novel sweetener. It doesn't have the negative taste that a lot of these stevia and monk fruit combinations do. And then we wanted to add another benefit. And what is a benefit right now that was very, in demand, especially on my time sitting in Costco, was we added a full dose of 5 grams of creatine to the product as well. But key is it still has to taste great. This product delivers on every single one of those attributes. And we're actually preparing to launch that product on June 6th. We have a big event down here in Dallas at a huge walking area called the Katy Trail. And it's kind of different than anything we've ever launched before, but we're also not taking it to retail right away, which also is different for us. We really want to keep it on our.com for a period of time, so that, consumers have more of a reason to go to our.com, because you have items that you can't just buy at every single retailer or on Amazon.
Sure.
So it's going to launch on our .com probably the first couple of months, and we'll get a lot of insights and see how consumers are resonating with that product. And then we'll start looking at a retail strategy for, pushing it out beyond our .com.
Yeah, that's a different take for you guys. Um, do you do your own fulfillment in-house, or do you work with a partner for your e-com?
We do our direct to consumer directly from so that is in-house.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of our retail distribution is either done with 3PL, or
Sure.
we work with one of the larger consolidators for the Walmarts and Sam's Club and Kroger's of the world.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I want you to talk for a minute about your international expansion, because I think some brands, as they are starting to grow and they get some success in the U.S. market, start to set their sights beyond. So how did that all unfold for you?
Well, when we launched the company originally in 2012, we assembled a very strong team of guys that had significant experience selling in the international market. So we moved to not only domestic sales, but international sales right out the gate.
Okay.
And it's something that it's much more relationship driven than, most of the way US is primarily data driven. International is primarily relationship driven. And it's enabled us to, because we had guys with significant relationships and experience, we were able to grow internationally very quick. And it was half our sales when we sold the company the first time.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And when I came back, it was frankly in shambles, and we've done a very good job. We've increased it significantly. I think we're at about 95 countries right now.
Yeah.
And we had to do a lot of the things you have to build the foundation first before you really can start taking advantage of it. And first things we had to do was rebuild international manufacturing. It protects you from tariff and gets you the ability to be competitive with in-market brands. And a lot of the in-market brands, when we sold the company the first time, they really weren't relevant. Most of the international markets still gravitated towards having U.S. products. Well, fast forward to today, and there are a lot of very successful international brands. And if you're going to be able to compete with them on a level playing field, you've got to be able to produce in market. And that enables you to avoid the tariffs and so on that put U.S. brands at a financial disadvantage from the beginning. Well, we got to depends on the period of time, but we do very well throughout the Middle East. We've got a lot of very strong distributors and partners in Europe. In India, we're the fastest growing brand and the number one pre-workout brand in that country. Throughout Latin America, but I would say that Canada has always been a great country for us. Definitely out punches its weight class by a long way from its population. And then, but we've done very well in Mexico. But I would say that a lot of the Middle Eastern countries are really, they purchase a lot more product than people would think they do. So whether it's Saudi Arabia or Kuwait, these countries, we do a lot of volume, and it's been very successful for the brand over time. And we've been growing at a very rapid rate for the past 3 years internationally.
Wow. So I'm sure you rely on your local partners a lot to understand the nuances of those markets. Are you selling primarily through retail and club stores in those countries as well, or do you have a different distribution strategy there?
We primarily work with distributors internationally. And the business internationally is still probably 7 to 10 years in evolution behind the U.S. So as the U.S. has really moved to a food, drug, and mass focused, country for its nutrition, the channels in a lot of these other countries will be different. Whereas the specialty up and down the street supplement stores are a lot more relevant in a lot of these countries than they are in the U.S. And then on the flip side, a lot of the food, drug, and mass retailers internationally, they may have a small handful of sports nutrition products, but they're nowhere near as evolved as, like, you walk into Walmart today, you can buy any of the top products from the vast majority of the top brands all on one shelf, which kind of really hurt the specialty channel in this country, because you don't need to go do your grocery shopping and then go to a GNC or a vitamin shop. You can get those same products at Walmart, frankly speaking, and Amazon as well. And you can get them to your door in the blink of an eye. So it's really hurt the specialty. Now, the e-commerce type businesses like Amazon, but all these other countries, like the Latin America, Mercado Libre is very big. It is
Mm-hmm.
their kind of their version of Amazon. Now, all these markets tend to have Amazon as well. And then in the Middle East, we work with a group called Noon, and they've been growing very rapidly and competing directly with Amazon. So we work with a lot of these platforms internationally. But far as where I see the future going here is you're going to see the same evolution in these markets that you do in the United States.
Yeah.
So you're going to see food, drug, and mass and club retailers start to become much more relevant in the category because it just makes it so much easier for the consumer. And now, like, for instance, in India, we work with a group called Blinkit. You can literally say, okay, crap, I'm out of my pre-workout product. I need a new one. Order it from Blinkit, go jump in the shower and get out. And 15 minutes later, it's going to be on your front door, which is just so
Hence
remarkable.
Blink. Yeah.
Yeah. Blinkit and Noon both are the same. I mean, they have delivery times at less than 30 minutes each time you order. There's a whole lot of, I mean, they build these very small warehouses, and, you know, a large city might have a few hundred warehouses, but that's where
Wow.
they can get products very quickly to the consumer, and such an advantage that you don't have to get in the car and then go drive to a big retailer, get out of the car, walk in, do all that stuff. You just can buy the product and it shows up.
Yeah. Yeah. The allure of convenience is making its way across the globe, but it's so interesting how different markets are even more set up for that than, maybe the US, which is spread out and urban
Yeah, you
sprawl.
got a lot more density in a lot of these cities. Like I'm
Yeah.
going to India on Monday, and I'm
Hmm.
going to the city of Bangalore.
Okay.
And I mean, it's a big city, but it probably has 15 million people.
Yeah.
It's just pretty crazy. And a level of density there, they can afford to have these services. And frankly, it's very hard for the old school brick and mortar retailer to compete against that.
Sure. Yeah. You can't compete with speed and convenience very easily.
Right. And if the price is better, I mean, you get a better price and you get exactly what you want, and you can get it. You don't have to wait a day or two for something to show up. It's going to be there in a matter of minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So thinking about that and then looking back at the US market, where do you see our space going next here?
Well, we got a lot of tailwinds to the market right now. You have these GLP-1 drugs that are
Yeah.
growing like crazy. And if people don't up their protein intake or take advantage of strength training, that those products can be, there's some pretty significant side effects that aren't positive. So we're seeing an entry of a lot of new consumers coming into a category that might not have been relevant to them in the past. We're seeing the younger generation take to fitness a lot more than the older generations did. So, and people are much more concerned about what they're putting in their bodies. So we're seeing sugary sodas and things like that be flat to declining, and
Right.
people are moving more towards whole foods, increasing their protein intakes, and trying to take advantage of fitness. And using India, for example, most recent data I saw is a 0.5% of the population actually identifies with going to a gym. Where, like, the number one country in the world is Sweden, which has, I believe, about 22% of their population identifies.
Oh, wow.
Then the U.S. comes in.
That's
I
a
think the
huge
U.S.
difference.
The U.S. number, I question their data because I think the U.S. is like 20% or 21%. I don't think 1 in 5 Americans are going to a gym.
They may be paying for a gym membership. I don't know if they're going to the gym.
Yes, I think they're adopting the Planet Fitness model.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, GLP-1s and all the nutrition around that has been a huge one. What is it about consumer shopping habits? Are you seeing, people buy more in bulk? And I know you guys came out with your own sort of tub to help people shop. I think it's to shop smarter. You can weigh in, but tell us about that, and then anything you want to say about shopping habits.
Yeah, so I mean, we patented a tub that allows us to give consumers multiple flavors in the same tub, and we can do, right now we use an S-shaped divider in our tub that is the easiest to scoop with. But we patented that not only in the US, but also worldwide. That enables us to solve a consumer problem. Consumers have spoken that they get sick and tired of having the same flavor every single day. So if you can break it up for them, or they can kind of mix and match how they want to consume their product, it's a benefit, and frankly doesn't need to cost the consumer any more than a single flavored product. It also allows us to put multiple different products. Like been able to bring both Jekyll and Hyde together in the same container. So you can have a non-stim pre-workout if you want to work out at night or just don't want the caffeine at that point. If you want the caffeine, you can have Hyde and have a stimulant pre-workout. But also if you're an advanced user and you want much more what we call a fully loaded pre-workout, you can put a scoop of each together because then it doesn't overload your caffeine intake. So it's been very dynamic for us and giving, because we're concerned and we want to take care of the consumers. The consumer is asking for something. We try to deliver. Now, as far as where the product or the category seems to be going is, I believe it's expanding significantly, but a lot of new participants. I would say your much more harder core long-term participants in the category are probably relatively flat. They're not, adding more and more products to the mix, but there's so many new consumers coming in who've never taken advantage of the category in the past. And now they're seeing that it's the least expensive way to add considerable protein to your diet. Having that focus and motivation to get up and go do something active, pre-workouts benefit that. There's great products for recovery. And I think you're seeing in the hydration category, a lot of innovation because, we started out with basically Gatorade. Frankly, Gatorade from the fact that, at the University of Florida, people were suffering from dehydration and so on. They were giving them salt tablets. Well, Gatorade is basically salt water with sugar on top. So, but the categories evolved from just being an electrolyte replacement to what other benefits can you deliver with that? But people also don't want to drink something that just tastes like drinking ocean water. They want it to still be delectable where they're not sacrificing flavor. And that's, I think, what Ionic is going to deliver really well. But I think we'll continue to see that category expand as more and more, knowledge is out there. And consumers have so many places now where they can get information as to things that can benefit.
Yeah, sometimes it's overwhelming, all the information or the competing information. I think consumers now are really I think they're struggling with what is the correct information and who do I trust to follow that's telling me the right thing.
There are a lot of experts out there telling people what to do.
Sure are.
I kind of cringe at a lot of it because what qualifications do a lot of these people have short of, just because you're in shape does not really give you the qualification to be advising people.
Right.
So I think a lot of it is trial, kind of what works best for you may not work best for somebody else. And then what are your goals? Your goal just to age more gracefully? Is your goal to, participate in athletics or do a high rocks or something? Or is it to, everyone has their own personal goals. It could be to go climb a mountain. And to me, I always try to tell people, pick something. Say, okay, I want to accomplish this, but put something as a goal, an obtainable goal, but something that gives you something that you're pushing for. Because sometimes, we have stress in our life. All of us have stress in our lives. We have stress in our lives. And, it's hard to be disciplined and consistent taking care of yourself when, a lot of people need that extra bit of motivation. So I'm not advocating against people who hire online coaches or hire personal trainers. Whatever works for you that helps you do something you otherwise wouldn't have done, probably great.
Yeah.
But I also think that people need to realize that there's not a lot of quick fixes for things. It's still going to take discipline, hard work, and it's not a magic pill that you just can take that's all of a sudden going to get you to your goals.
Right. Yeah. And I think going back to your point about taste and making sure that the products are enjoyable to begin with is you don't want something to be unmotivating to somebody of like, oh, I have to do this. It tastes horrible, but yeah, I know it's good for me. Because I think they'll always then be on the search for something that's a little bit better.
Right. And so all these diets and stuff like the keto was just such a popular diet. It's extremely hard to participate in that. To me, I believe I'm a disciplined person. I couldn't do that. And for me, it wasn't my desire. I want to be in good shape. I really want to be in good shape for my age.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to enjoy things. And I actually like the fact of feeling good about myself. And it's a kind of a mental health benefit that I get by the fact that I do go to the gym 7 days a week and I go basically 365 days a year. If I was to be forced to miss, it would give me a lot of anxiety and so on. So I've built the discipline. I live that discipline, but I also don't go to other people and say, hey, just because I do it, you need to do this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Everything, you got to find what works for you, but you got to have the right tools in front of you to make it successful.
yes.
So in our last couple of minutes, let's kind of shift to, I want to hear some of your advice. You've gone through this, you've built an incredibly successful business in all these countries. You know the product development cycle in and out. So for people that are much earlier in their CPG journey, what are some things that come to mind that you wish you knew earlier on?
Well, I would say one is that whatever money you think you need to grow your business, you probably should increase that number exponentially, because we all have far more confidence of what's going to happen in the future. But one thing is, if you have to go out and raise capital early on in your business and you underestimate the amounts that you need to bring in, it's going to cost you far more in the future by not bringing that in. There's countless great products that really never got off the ground because they weren't properly capitalized from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And I would say another one is build a network of people that, can help you from a mentorship standpoint, that you don't need a ton of them, because then, you get a bunch of conflicting messages and it's very, very challenging.
Sure.
Or get some trusted advisors that have been through the process before, because we all have experience. Not most people do not just they can't just say every experience I've had is a positive. You're going to have negatives in there, and you're going to navigate things that are challenging. So having mentors around and advisors around to help you is invaluable. And then frankly, outside of that, it's just kind of put the nose down and, get out and execute. And nobody can ever talk about a product like, the person who innovated and created the product in the first place, and can't fake passion. So it's important to be able to go out and have people recognize the fact that you're all in, and your belief of where that product can go is very, very important. But I will say it's something, I see this all the time as well. Be very careful not to launch products purely from a function standpoint, because I mean, function's great, but if things don't taste good, it's very hard to get long-term buy-in.
Yeah.
And eventually your competition is going to find ways to make products taste better than what you have, because they're going to continue to innovate on things that you left as weaknesses. Literally, I'm not going to say the name of the company, but I've heard this company's on fire. I met them at the show I was at on Wednesday in Las Vegas, and was talking to them and so on. I said, here, take some of our products with us. I did. And I walked away, and I'm like, I tried a couple of them. Like, how on earth does somebody launch that? It was like literally spit in the trash can. I just don't understand. People have to be disciplined to say, you know what, it might take me 3 or 4 more iterations to launch something properly. But if it doesn't taste good, I mean, at least for me, you're going to have to kind of force consumers to buy something. And if it's not really, really innovative, they're going to graduate away, because at the end of the day, they want their protein or they want their energy, but they were going to go to what gives them a positive taste experience,
right,
in my opinion, even greater than the functional aspect.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that 100%. And if you had to distill down your whole career into one recipe to revenue, what would you say that it has been?
Persistence. Without a doubt. I mean, there's so many times where you feel that you're almost in a situation that is impossible to deal with. And you just have to realize that sometimes you're not going to solve it in a day, but if you stay patient and disciplined and so on, you can get through it. But we have great days. We have bad days. You have to smooth it out and just be persistent. No one's going to stop you from getting to your goal.
Yeah. Yeah. If the average is still on an upward trajectory, even with those ups and downs, you're still on the right path.
Yep. And we all have the downs. So we always try to, enjoy the ups. Don't get too high, and the downs don't get too low. But you always can go to ProSupps.com, ProSupps.com. But you can see us in virtually every major retailer in the U.S. And frankly, there's not too many store shelves internationally that don't have our products also. So
yeah, all you got to do is keep your eyes open.
Yeah, I'm not a hawker of products. So I just want
Yeah.
people that they want a great product and they want to try ours.
Yeah.
Fantastic. If they don't, I love our competitors as well.
Excellent. Thank you again, Joe. We appreciate all your advice.
Thanks, Lee.
Thanks for listening to Recipe to Revenue. If you're building in the food, beverage, or hospitality space, you're in the right room. Subscribe for more founder stories and real-world growth strategies. And if this episode helped, share it with a friend and leave a review. It's how this show grows. For tools, templates, and ways to work together, visit recipetorevenue.co. I'm Leah Messina. Until next time, keep cooking up the next revenue stream.